My mom stole my inheritance and kicked me out of the family when I asked her to pay it back. My mother has me all kinds of fucked up and I'm not sure if I should just walk away. Backstory. My 27F mom 53F has had a really hard life. She was in a car accident at age 5 and watched her own mother die. She didn't have an active father. And no one on her mom's side wanted to take her in, so she went into foster care for a few years. Not good experience from what she told me. At age 8 she was adopted into a loving, wealthy family of 2 college professors, along with an adopted brother. She had a hard time adjusting, made a lot of bad decisions, and basically ran away in her late teens. This whole time her adopted parents were doing everything they could to reach out to their daughter and help her get on her feet. But mostly, their efforts were wasted. She has a child at 18. Then again a few years later. She lost them to foster care. And then had me with a different man. Eventually, she gets her 2 first kids back, my older half-brothers. Has me. Marries twice again and has 2 more kids, my 2 younger brothers. In total, she has 5 children. 4 boys with me. The middle girl. We grow up very poor, with our mother always gone or bringing back strangers to party, leaving me to raise the youngest 2. We would visit our grandparents' mom's adopted parents for holidays and special occasions. But with my mother's strained relationship with them, we weren't able to visit as much as we kids would like. My childhood was speepy to say the least. That being said, I loved my grandparents, especially my GPA, dearly, and they loved us kids back. And as much as they struggled with my mom, they were nothing but loving towards her, from what I understand. The thing about my grandparents is that education was very important to them. I remember the encouragement for college started very early on from them, and they made it very clear that I was expected to go to college. When I was allowed to visit them, they would take me to bookstores and let me loose. They'd say, "Okay, pick one." And I would come back with 3 or 4, unable to decide. They'd laugh and get me all the books, which I could not believe. I took pride in knowing my grandparents thought so highly of my future and was determined to keep making them proud. Fast forward to 2005. I'm in 5th grade. And my grandma passed away from long-term alcohol abuse. My mom has a wake-up call and gets sober, but is still absent from AA meetings and general disinterest. Then in 7th grade, my grandpa passed as well from the same illness. This crushed me. I wasn't able to articulate any of it at the time. But that's when the big-time depression rolled in. From there on, school was very difficult for me, as well as my home life. I ended up falling pretty deep into my sorrow and stopped going to school around my junior year of high school. After a breakthrough, I decided that I had to get the hell away from that house and ultimately moved out at age 17 to a bigger city about 45 minutes away. I barely finished high school with a 1.75 GPA, and somehow 2 teachers from the new school convinced me to sign up for the community college. They helped me fill out my FAFSA and everything. Side note. When I received my mom's financial info for that year for the FAFSA, I saw she claimed to make around $10K a year. That's how poor we were. After my first semester in college, I was hooked. Science was actually pretty cool. I realized I loved to learn and kept pushing through. I worked full-time, busted my ass, and after 4 years I finally achieved an associate degree. But that wasn't enough for me. I was able to transfer over to a university that I would have never been able to attend right out of HS due to grades and whatnot, and finish my B.S. in my favorite field of science. In total, it took me 6 years to get my BS degree. But I worked so freaking hard and I was so proud of what I was able to accomplish. Keep in mind, during my whole college career, my mother was characteristically absent and dismissive of what I was doing. When I was in my early 20s still at community college, she packed up her and my baby brothers and moved 5 hours up north. I didn't have a car and couldn't come see them hardly at all. I was upset by this, of course. But that didn't matter to her. She eventually moved back a couple years later. Anyway, I graduate college with $40K college debt. Not so bad compared to most, I always thought. I knew that I would have to work hard and accrue debt to get where I wanted in life. So this was a necessary burden and I've accepted that. However, things have turned in recent events in my effort to get closer to my late grandparents. I reached out to their close personal friends, let's call them the Johnsons, to get a better idea of what my grandparents were like. They were so close that the Johnsons were actually the arbiter of my GPA's will. In conversation, it came out that when my parents passed away, they left a $150,000 inheritance for the grandchildren's education. However, 3 years later, around 2010, my mother came to the Johnsons and confessed to them that she blew all the education money. On what? I have no freaking idea, but I do remember her buying a 2-door sports car, or only car for a 6-person family after Grandpa died, so I'm sure the rest of her purchases were great investment/s. This was really upsetting to me for many reasons. I was the only grandchild that actually went to college, and that money could have easily covered my expenses. If I had that money, I wouldn't have had to spend every moment for 6 years busting my ass. I could have afforded to only have one job instead of 3. I could have spent that time studying and getting better grades, or done an internship, which literally makes or breaks your career in my field. I wasn't able to do any of that and haven't been able to get a related job. Not the worst thing, but unfortunate. I have a fine job in tech that I wouldn't have been able to get without my degree. I'm plenty happy with my decision. My relationship with her was already strained. But this really crossed a line for me. I emailed her telling her I knew what she did and she needed to pay me back. That's probably not going to happen. She owns a small business in social media and it doesn't do that great. I kind of want to just cut ties forever. But I'm so angry. I also want her to pay back the money she stole. I am so out of my depth. What to do? I don't understand the actions of the arbiters. Who just hands $150K to someone not the beneficiary? Why wouldn't they open a trust she had no control over? People from fundamentally decent families. Who trust that of course a mother wouldn't steal from her children. I want to know why the grandparents didn't set it up in a trust with conditions on it. She'll come crawling back if she ever wants to see you or the amazing person you are again. At that point, the leverage is yours. You worked so hard. Achieved and accomplished so much. Don't let her drag you down. The knowledge of what she did and the what ifs if she had will bury you if you let it. Giving her the power. Sorry for the rant, but I'm going through similar things and this is what I've come up with. Also, sue her ass. If you're not willing to sue, there isn't a whole lot you can do besides forgetting about it and moving on after cutting her out of your life, of course. For some reason your mother was never able to do what she needed to do to move ahead in life. She had serious reasons to have difficulties but also had subsequent advantages too many kids in the system never get. I can't tell you why the good didn't balance away the bad. I have no idea if she decided to make bad choices or something made her unable to help herself. Either way, she took the money that was supposed to give you the tools to succeed. Make sure to not give her similar opportunities in the future. If you leave anything to your brothers, know that you have to protect it. However, the money was only part of what your grandparents left you. They gave you family and generosity and a love of books. They demonstrated how to care for one another. They believed you would learn and succeed. All of this is also their legacy to you. Nobody can take that from you. I am sorry that they didn't live long enough to show you. Grandma brings bullet-shaped lipstick to airport. This happened this summer. Sorry if the format is off. I'm on my phone. I got pulled out of the TSA line for my bag to get checked because I forgot to empty my water bottle. I know. Stupid mistake. I was behind a grandma with her 2 grandchildren getting her bag checked. The TSA officer was checking her bag and pulled out a bullet-shaped lipstick container. The TSA officer was very hesitant at first. Because he didn't know it was lipstick. The TSA officer brings over another person to be with him at the time. He asks the lady what was in the container. She explains it's her lipstick. The TSA officer told her she can't bring this on the plane since it was shaped like a bullet. He said she can either toss it or ship it home. She argued, basically yelling back and forth, and basically said it's not a bullet. It's my lipstick. I'm not getting rid of it. After she said that her grandchildren, maybe 5 and 8, were pleading with their grandma to please get rid of it, that it doesn't matter. The lady tells her grandchildren, this is my lipstick, I'm not getting rid of it. The TSA officer kept explaining to the lady she can't bring anything shaped like a bullet onto a plane. She argued back and forth with this man for probably 10 minutes. Finally, the officer told her, final chance, either you mail it or I'll toss it. She started yelling at the officer that it's crap, she wasn't allowed to carry it. He finally tossed it. She was screaming at the officer that she will sue him for that. While this was happening, her grandchildren were crying and pleading with their grandma to let it go. Several officer people were around by at that time. Last I left her, she was talking to another officer. I'm not totally sure what happened after, since I was getting escorted back to the line to go back through security for my water bottle. I don't know if this fits entitled people, but this is the most entitlement I've seen. Let me know if there is a better place to post it. Man. Maybe it was 100 Sephora lipstick. Why the f*** should it matter what it looks like? That's bullspeep. I really don't know. My brother-in-law had a bullet-shaped keychain and was told he couldn't get on the plane with it either. He just turned around, left it in his car and then got on the plane. Always remember, the TSA have never caught a terrorist or stopped an attack. That's not being entitled. It was a lipstick that was going to cause no harm. The TSA dude was just on a power trip. Is there an actual visible rule anywhere in airports that say this? Yeah. She overreacted. But honestly, that agent was really stupid. It's lipstick. They know it's lipstick. Who cares what shape it is? It's harmless. If it were shaped like a gun, the argument would be that it could be used to threaten people. But a bullet? What's she going to do? Threaten to throw it at you? Last time I saw bullet-shaped lipstick was my grandmother's. Apparently the rage in the 1940s and 1950s. Not entitled to want to keep your own property that's obviously not a peeping bullet. What's next? Can't bring a bath bomb. Kids can't bring army men? The TSA officer was way out of line. If this were Ida, I would say both sides are assholes. TSA rank and file are ill-trained disasters. The correct approach is to ask for a supervisor. The TSA agent also has to provide their name and badge/employee number OPM policy. The traveler has to know enough to ask. The person should have known better than to try and bring anything in that shape through screening. If it had been plastic, it should have not been detectable. It's also pretty ridiculous that he wouldn't let her keep it. I just googled it and you can bring empty shell casings on a plane in your carry-on bag which are obviously shaped like bullets because they are bullets. Just empty ones. This TSA person made up a rule. Lipstick can be expensive, so I can understand being mad and arguing about it to a degree. Of course I'd have let it go long before she did because it's definitely not worth embarrassing myself or getting kicked out over. She really shot off her mouth to them. Eh? To be fair, the TSA has some really dumb rules. But peep if it's the hill to die on. And right before a flight? LOL. Reminds me of the time the TSA dude inspecting the contents of my carry-on after the X-ray called over another TSA dude as backup. I guess. Then he explained to me in a scared little voice. Sir, you aren't allowed to bring this on board. This was one of those tiny-assed folding scissors we can buy pretty much anywhere. That I barely used for nose hair. You know, and completely forgot was in the toiletries bag in my carry-on. That was in there? Sorry about that. Just chuck it out or keep it. I don't care. I'll just get another at the destination if I need one. And that was it. The dude needed backup to explain to me how dangerous those cheap tiny folding scissors were and I couldn't bring it on board. LOL. I wouldn't say she's entitled. Absolutely furious and not able to think rationally, yes. But not entitled. That's her lipstick. She's entitled to keep it. I can see why she was angry. You can take bullet-shaped lipstick containers through UK airports no problem. So why not an airport in a country where guns are more freely used? The fact that you declared yourself woke doesn't mean you're entitled to stuff about my private life. Disclaimer. I'm cringing to use the word woke, but that's the most fitting description there is. So first, some background. After me and my long-term GF parted ways in early 2021 due to opposite long-term goals, I was down. But then I met my now GF Julia, fake name at work. Julia shares my fucked up sense of humor and it's just pleasant for me being with her and I can be myself around her with all my stupid jokes. But here is a thing about Julia. Julia was born as Julian and lived for 15 years as Julian before the hormones, surgery and all the legal stuff. She told me as soon as we got closer and told me she would understand if it was a red flag for me and would hold a grudge when I couldn't handle it. TBH, at first I was taken aback. But it was nothing big for me. I love her and she's beautiful. From the short blue hair, over her piercings and tunnels to the 1.5 head, she's shorter than me. We both work at the hospital. I'm a nurse while she works as a lab tech. So word got around that I date the trans girl in the lab and that was the #1 talk for some days, but it died down. Sure, I got some questions like, is that really okay for you? You know, the whole trans thing? Or nice things like respect. I couldn't do it, but those I can smile away. I have a particular nosy coworker. She's one of the nurses. Let's call Karen. Karen is that kind of nurse which does okay work, but never works overtime and always wants the weekends off. Because she got stuff to do like everyone else, doesn't have a private life. She's the nosy kind and mostly the one who spreads hospital gossip like Corona in early 2020. Yes, still a bit too recent to make jokes about it. Isn't it? Not just harmless stuff. She started the rumor that one of our attendings had an affair with an intern at the Christmas party, although he just drove her home. So she started badgering me about information about Julia's and my relationship. Stuff like, isn't that a problem for you? Or does she have no what? But I shot that down pretty quickly. I nippled it in the butt, as you Americans may say. But today really took the cake. That happened during my smoke break. Yeah, I know. Smoking is bad. But I stopped with overdosing myself with caffeine. So I need nicotine because without it I may be flipping over an ambulance like Peeping Hulk. Karen. Oh, hi up. Materly sighing and maybe burn down half my cigarette with one drag. Hi Karen. Karen. What's up? Me. Smoking. Karen. Ooh, I see. How is Julia? Me. Fine. Karen. Everything fine between you two? Me. Yep. Karen. Been with her? Me record scratch and looking up. Karen. Oh, come on. Don't give me that. You know what I mean. Me. I think that's not really your business there, Karen. Karen. Oh, come on, don't be such a prude. Don't be shy. I won't judge you. I am the German equivalent to being woke. TBH, I don't know which word she used. Me. It'll pass, thanks. What happens between Julia and me stays between Julia and me. Karen. Oh, come on, you told Nadia, my work wife and best friend since nursing school. Why not me? Me. Well, because Nadia is my friend. I didn't talk about with Frank, another male nurse. Nice guy, but we aren't more than coworkers who talk about the NFL. So why you? Karen. Oh, I'm just interested and look out for my fellow coworkers. So tell me. Me. I'll pass on that, Karen. I proceed to take my last drag from my cigarette and put it out in the ashtray because I'm not a pig and like our janitor. I proceeded to walk away. Karen. Uck. I'll ask Julia then. Girls aren't as prude as you guys. I laughed while I walked back in. Julia won't tell her speep. Because I know one thing for sure. Julia hates Karen's guts. Because Karen gave her speep for being trans when she started working at my hospital. I told Nadia about it and she chuckled. But she warned me of the incoming speep storm. Because I angered Queen Karen. The queen of the middle-aged gossip nurses. But know what? I'm together with the girl I love and I work in this soul-sucking snake pit of a hospital long enough to stand my ground. Not sure about what the human resources laws are where you live. But here in North America, asking a coworker about their sex life and inappropriate questions to someone who is transgender would get you in a whole lot of trouble with HR. Just keep that thought in your back pocket. If she keeps pushing the issue, perhaps a conversation with management needs to happen. Well, the laws are comparable, maybe a bit lighter than the US. But I know our HR people. As long as no one is groped, killed or injured, they will give everyone a slap on the wrist. Good for you. Nothing irritates the Karens of this world than being told to mind their own business. Just wanted to add a gentle tip. The phrase is not nippled it in the bud but nipped it in the bud. It is a reference to gardening techniques where the gardeners cut off a developing plant or stem when it is still in the bud stage. Although I'm really feeling the nippled it in the bud. Why do you keep asking me about this? Are you trying to get _involved with us? Because if you are, that's not going to happen. Best if you leave the subject, and me, alone before you find yourself in trouble. And every time she approaches, start recording with your phone for evidence. That bullspeep needs to stop. When people ask me about my genitals, I often play it like this. I tell them I am happily married and not interested in a threesome. And that really freaks them out. Good on you. No one needs to know any more than you want to tell them. You love your girlfriend. You're happy. That's it. End of story. Report her to HR. They'll help her learn boundaries. In the US, what Karen did was sexual harassment and would be a fireable offense. Not sure about the laws in your country though. Either way, she was way out of line. Karen blows up on employee for restaurant running out of an item. Last year I was a DoorDash driver after getting laid off due to the pandemic. I had an order at a local Mexican restaurant. This place is very popular here, so they will have days where they will run out of products. I arrived. Mentioned I had an order to pick up and was told they were out of beef. I thanked them for the info, then called the customer. I told her how to cancel the order and get a refund. During this, a Karen walked in. The employee told her they were out and she blew up. She shouted, "What do you expect me to do now? I'm going to get a bad review because of you." The employee apologized and said there was nothing he could do. She kept going on. I walked up and told her what I did and that it didn't leave any bad reviews. She argued and then turned back to the employee and demanded he fix the issue. The poor guy had no idea what to do at this point. It was sad because the employees here are super sweet. A supervisor told her to wait outside for now. I walked back out to my car and see the manager walk to her car. He told her she should never talk to his employees like that and to leave. I couldn't hear much more of the conversation because I was now in my car. As I wait for a new order to pop up on my phone, I see Karen speed through the parking lot and pull in front of another car, nearly causing a car accident on one of the busiest roads. She want the employee to fix it? Seriously? Like how? Drive to a grocery store and buy beef? Or wrangle a cow? Nah. Eat the Karen.